Doubts based on misreading the Sutras, excerpts page 83 to 95. There are numerous students of the Buddha Dharma who raise a number of issues about the Pure Land School, based on the teachings in the Sutras. I will follow the question and answer formula to reply to them. 1. Question. The Diamond Sutra states, all mundane, conditioned, dharmas are like dreams, illusions, shadows and bubbles. Therefore, the Saha world being illusory, so is the land of ultimate bliss. Why not enter directly into the true original mind instead of seeking rebirth in an illusory world? Answer. In truth, all the pure and impure lands in the 10 directions are like dreams and illusions. However, only when we have attained the illusion like samadhi, can we see them as illusory and false. If we have not yet reached that stage, we still see them as real. We are still subject to their sway, we still know sorrow and happiness, we still feel uncomfortable during the summer heat and are even bothered by such small things as mosquito and ant bites. Thus, how can we speak about things being illusory? We should realize that the Pure Land method is a wonderful expedient of the Buddha, borrowing an illusory realm of happiness to help sentient beings escape from an illusory realm of great suffering, full of obstructing conditions and dangers. Then, from that happy, peaceful, illusory realm, cultivation progresses easily, and the ever-silent realm of the true mind is swiftly attained. To take an example, in this Saha world of ours, the scenes of stifling family life and noisy downtown business districts are illusory. And so are the scenes of temples and pagodas or mountain wildernesses. However, why is it that cultivators leave the noisy environment of the cities to seek the quiet, sparsely populated landscapes of temples and pagodas hidden in the mountains? Is it not because family life creates many binding ties and bustling urban intersections are not conducive to concentration, while temples and pagodas and mountain wildernesses facilitate cultivation? For this reason, the circumstances of ordinary people are different from those of the saints. For common mortals to put themselves in the place of the saints is far-fetched and unrealistic. We who are still common mortals should follow the path of ordinary people and cultivate gradually. We should not look with the of saints and comment too far above our eyes level, to avoid the transgression of false speech, which can be harmful. There was once a Zen master who thought that the Pure Land was illusory and that reciting the Buddha's name and seeking rebirth was useless. Upon hearing this, Elder Master Chi Wu said immediately, "This is a mistake. Bodhisattvas of the 7th stage and below are all cultivating in a dream. Even those bodhisattvas who have reached the level of equal enlightenment are still fast asleep within the great dream of delusion. Only the Buddhas can be honored with the designation Great Enlightened, i.e., those who have completely awakened. When our own body is in a dream, happiness and suffering are to be expected. We experience happiness and still no suffering. How can we consider ourselves awakened from a dream and our environment dreamlike? This being the case, how can remaining in the suffering dream of the Saha world compare with returning to the happy dream of the Pure Land? Moreover, the Saha world dream goes from dream to dream, subject to the laws of karma, eternally revolving and sinking in the cycle of birth and death. The Pure Land dream, on the other hand, is from dream to enlightenment and gradual awakening to the ultimate stage of Buddhahood. Although the illusory dream is the same, the conditions of the dreaming state in the two instances are really different. Thus, it is truly necessary to recite the Buddha's name and seek rebirth. From the above explanations of ancient masters, we can see that the need to seek rebirth has been clearly demonstrated. However, the stanza from the Diamond Sutra quoted above is still an expedient explanation to help sentient beings abandon the common mortal's concept of attachment. Going one step further, as stated in the Great Prajna Paramita Sutra, the Buddha explained to those of dull capacities that all dharmas are dreamlike, silent, and still, lest they develop view attachment. To those of sharp capacities he spoke of the embellishments of the Buddhas, because they are like lotus blossoms, untouched by worldly dusts. For this reason, Subhuti, who, of all the Arhat disciples, was the one most completely awakened to the truth of emptiness, devoid of all names and marks, characteristically received a prediction that he would attain full enlightenment in the future under the title of Name and Mark Buddha. Thus, the sublime truth of no name or mark is inseparable from name and mark. All illusory dharmas are the Buddha's dharmas, true and unchanging. Going still deeper, to the ultimate and perfect stage, as the sixth patriarch has said, sentient beings are originally Buddhas, afflictions are Bodhi, enlightenment, all delusions are the perfect and illuminating essence. Truly enlightened, of the womb of the Tathagata, Buddha. 2. Question. The Platform Sutra states, without recitation, recitation is correct. With recitation, recitation becomes erroneous. Thus, is not Buddha recitation deviant and false? Answer. The meaning of no birth, no thought, no recitation, has been discussed earlier, but I will give a direct explanation here. No thought does not mean no Buddha or sutra recitation, but rather habitual recitation of the Buddha's name in the sutras with a completely empty mind, neither seeing nor grasping at the thought that we are the ones doing the reciting. This is called no thought. On the other hand, though we may sit still and at peace, our minds not thinking of anything, if we are still aware that we are sitting in meditation, this is still having thought. If we think that no thought is not to recite the Buddha's name or the sutras, not to lecture on the Dharma and not to ponder or meditate, then we have turned into wood and stone. While avoiding the error of grasping at forms, we have fallen into the error of grasping at emptiness, thus going against the very meaning of the sutra. For this reason, the sixth patriarch continued, he who is above, affirmative, and negative, rides permanently in the white bullock cart, the vehicle of Buddha. Wang Mo Lam, Trail. The Sutra of Wei Neng, page .65. In the Diamond Sutra and the Sutra of Wei Neng. Boston, Massachusetts. Shambhala, 1969. High-ranking Pure Land monks of old often practiced Buddha recitation seeking rebirth, but they did not grasp at the mark of such recitation. Therefore, they left behind this stanza. To recite is the same as not to recite. No birth is precisely birth. Not bothering to move even half a step, the body has reached the city of great enlightenment. However, we have spoken so far of the cultivation practices of individuals of high capacities. Persons of moderate and low capacities should strive to repeat the Buddha's name as many times as possible. While they may still have attachments and see themselves as reciting the Buddha's name and earnestly seeking rebirth, it is still a good thing, because by so doing, they will assuredly achieve rebirth at the time of death, and ultimately enter the realm of no thought, no birth. Where is the worry? Otherwise, not conscious of their own limitations, seeking a direct and lofty way, grasping at the teachings of emptiness while incapable of following the truth of no thought, yet unwilling to practice at the lower level of seeking rebirth through Buddha recitation, in the end they achieve neither. They just remain common mortals in the painful cycle of birth and death. 3. Question. In the Platform Sutra, the sixth patriarch stated, those living in the East who commit transgressions, recite the Buddha's name seeking rebirth. In the West, where do those transgressors living in the West seek rebirth, when they recite the Buddha's name? Thus, we should only aim at eliminating transgressions. What need is there to recite the Buddha's name and seek rebirth? Answer. The sixth patriarch and high-ranking Zen masters were intent on teaching the mind-only doctrine. Thus, all of their words are based on these tenets, pointing directly to the self-nature, with the mind as the center. What the patriarch was really saying is that if the mind is pure, even though we are in the Saha world, we are emancipated and free. If the mind is impure, even in the Pure Land we are still subject to the sufferings of birth and death. In truth, for the Pure Land cultivator who understands the Dharma, the patriarch's words serve only to urge him on, encouraging him to recite the Buddha's name to the level of purity of mind, devoid of all attachment to forms. The patriarch did not reject the act of reciting the Buddha's name to seek rebirth. Buddha Sakyamuni, the Buddhas of the 10 directions, the great bodhisattvas and the patriarchs all recommended seeking rebirth in the Pure Land. The two foremost Indian Zen patriarchs Asvaghosha and Nagarjuna both recommended the Pure Land method. Nagarjuna himself, according to the Lankavatara Sutra, was enlightened to the preliminary bodhisattva stage of extreme joy, and was reborn in the Pure Land. If the sixth patriarch had truly intended to reject Buddha recitation, he would have been criticizing and rejecting Buddha. Sakyamuni, the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas and the patriarchs, including the very precursors who established his own Zen school, the patriarchs Asvaghosha and Nagarjuna. How can that be? Therefore, if we were to misunderstand the sixth patriarch's words and use those very words to deprecate Buddha recitation, we would be slandering and sowing the seeds of injustice toward him. Moreover, every method has two aspects, noumenon, principle, and phenomena. The above quotation from the sixth patriarch is at the level of principle. We must also consider the phenomenal aspect of the path to liberation. Let us restate the question. Those who commit transgressions in the secular world seek refuge in temples and pagodas, where they cut their hair, become vegetarians, and keep the precepts, looking for a place of purity and tranquility in order to cultivate. Where do those living in temples and pagodas who transgress go to cultivate? If we base ourselves only at the level of principle, and follow the above argument, then can such actions as entering the monastic life, being vegetarian, and keeping the precepts, including Buddha, Sutra and mantra recitation as well as meditation, all be mistakes? The Pure Land method is similar. In truth, people in the East do not recite the Buddha's name seeking rebirth in the West merely because they have committed transgressions. Rather, they do so precisely to take advantage of the excellent conditions of that land to cultivate and swiftly attain the level of no birth and liberation. This is also the goal pursued by those who have committed many bad deeds but who now repent and recite the Buddha's name. Moreover, the inhabitants of the Western Pure Land cannot commit transgressions because, once reborn, they are surrounded by Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and morally superior beings. Around them are birds singing the Dharma and music expounding the Sutras, while they are free from such daily worries as food, clothing, disease, calamities, hatred and resentment. Thus, they can only progress along the path of cultivation. Where are the conditions for creating bad karma? In conclusion, we should understand the sixth patriarch's words as an explanation and exhortation based exclusively on pure principle or nature. We should not misunderstand them and use them to reject phenomena and marks. In view of the above, Pure Land cultivators should redouble their efforts and practice to the point of emptiness of mind. Only then will they be in accord with the intent of the patriarch. The need to sever dualistic attachments. Many similar doubts remain concerning the Pure Land method. This is because cultivators are still attached to duality, and have not reconciled essence and marks, existence and non-existence, noumenon and phenomena. That is why they use essence to reject marks, noumenon to reject phenomena, emptiness to reject existence, and vice versa, thus creating disputes, doubts and perplexity. Little do they suspect that there is mutual identity between noumenon and phenomena. That is, phenomena are noumenon, noumenon is phenomena. If we divide them and consider them separately, phenomena are not true phenomena, noumenon is not true noumenon. This is true also of essence and marks, existence and non-existence and other dualistic dharmas. For this reason, the Vimalakirti Sutra speaks of the non-dual method to destroy this attachment. Non-dual means reconciling all things, penetrating into their very nature. It does not mean one. This is the true realm of mind only. Any other doctrine based on the Dharma doors of existence or emptiness is merely an expedient for teaching purposes. The sutras say, to tire of and abandon, conditioned, Veer Tuesday is the action of demons. Yet, to be greedy and attached to transcendental, unconditioned virtues is also demonic action. Ancient sages have also said that conditioned dharmas, while illusory, cannot be abandoned if we are to attain the way. Although unconditioned dharmas are true, if we become attached to them, our wisdom nature will not be comprehensive. These words clearly demonstrate that, on the path to enlightenment, unconditioned and conditioned dharmas, noumenon and phenomena are inseparable. It is also stated in the treatise on the middle way that, because common sentient beings grasp at external forms, the sutras destroy them with the truth of emptiness. If as soon as they are free of the disease of attachment to existence they fall into the error of grasping at emptiness, there is no medicine that can help them. As the Prajna Paramita truth of emptiness sounds lofty and miraculous, when educated people read of this literature, they usually get caught up in the error of speaking on the level of principle about everything and look down on those who follow form and marks in their practice. Thus, they create the karma of arrogance and self-importance. While they mouth the truth of emptiness, their actions are entirely in the realm of existence. As exemplified by the following couplet. Above, their mouths speak about the totally wonderful. Below, their feet do not part with even a mote of dust. In the past, high-ranking spiritual teachers often used the truth of emptiness to cure the disease of attachment to existence. However, the achievements of these masters were genuine, and their teachings were adapted to the capacities and circumstances of the recipients, bringing them actual benefits. This can be seen from the stories which follow. There was once a Zen master who cultivated with extreme diligence. He usually slept in a sitting position rather than lying down, and hardly rested much at all. However, despite engaging in ascetic practices for many years, he still had not become enlightened to the way. One day, a novice of unknown provenance sought permission to join the order. This novice was habitually lazy to the point where he would often remain in bed even after the bell announcing the early prayer session had been rung. Informed of this, the master summoned him and scolded him in the following terms: "How is it that you have joined the order but are still so lazy as to be always lying down? Don't you remember what the rules of discipline say? Remaining in bed and failing to arise after hearing the bell will bring the future retribution of rebirth as a snake?" The novice replied, "You said, Master, that I often lie down and therefore will become a snake. How about you, who are attached to the sitting posture? You will be reborn a toad. What can you ever hope to awaken to?" Immediately after this exchange, the novice disappeared. However, the master had awakened. As the story goes, the novice was in fact a bodhisattva, who had assumed the appearance of a novice in order to enlighten the master. There is also the story of a well-known elder master who sat astride the neck of a statue of the Buddha. splitting and burning wooden Buddhas in order to destroy the concept of attachment to the Buddhas. Or the anecdote of Master Thich Thien, who, having recited the Lotus Sutra 3,000 times, prostrated himself without touching his head to the ground, and was reprimanded by the sixth patriarch for not having severed his attachment to the Dharma and to merits and virtues, Platform Sutra, or the story of Master Thich Thien, who, upon achieving the great freedom samadhi, wrote the names of the Bodhisattvas Manjusri and Samantabhadra on his underwear, to destroy the concept of attachment to the Sangha. Enlightened masters of the past, with their high level of practice and achievement, could teach the Dharma according to the times and conditions. Moreover, the practitioners of the time included individuals of the highest capacities, so that the teaching of emptiness was often fruitful. Today, the majority are of low and moderate capacity. In our teaching, we should harmonize theory and practice, nature and marks, so as not to engender doubts, and to keep the Bodhi mind of the cultivators from retrogressing. Since the majority of practitioners cannot enter directly into the sphere of true emptiness in one step, if we reject external forms, we would bring on the calamity of prematurely destroying the boat before stepping onto the shore. How, then, could we escape drowning? One more point to bear in mind. If we speak about the truth of emptiness without having attained that stage, or at least reached a certain level of achievement, in our practice, we certainly cannot convert others but will only end up in useless arguments and disputes. A few years ago, this author witnessed the following occurrence. A young monk versed in the Buddha Dharma was staying at a certain temple to lecture on the sutras. The abbot, who was advanced in age, was diligent in his daily recitation, but used to traditional ways of worship. He took a dislike to the young monk and his free, progressive ways and said to him, "You are teaching and urging people to follow the way, yet you yourself have never been seen to recite a single sutra nor the Buddha's name. Under these circumstances, how can you serve as a model of cultivation for the fourfold assembly?" The young monk replied, "There are many ways to cultivate. It is not necessary to follow appearances, reciting the sutras and the Buddha's name day and night, as you do, Master, to qualify as a cultivator." The Diamond Sutra states, "Who sees me by form, who sees me in sound? Perverted are his footsteps upon the way, for he cannot perceive the Tathagata." Translation by A. F. Price, The Diamond Sutra, p.65. In the Diamond Sutra and the Sutra of Wei Neng, Boston, Massachusetts, Shambhala, 1969. Take the sixth patriarch, who recited neither the sutras nor the Buddha's name, yet attained enlightenment and became a patriarch. The abbot, at a loss for words, remained silent. In truth, the abbot was guilty of attachment to appearances and forms. The young monk, on the other hand, while mouthing abstruse principles, actually practiced neither meditation nor recitation. Therefore, he was not only unable to enlighten the abbot, he irritated him unnecessarily. Of the two types of attachments, to existence and to emptiness, the latter is very dangerous. Both the Lankavatara and the Esoteric Adornment Sutras state, "It is better to be attached to existence, though the attachment be as great as Mount Sumeru, than to be attached to emptiness, though the attachment may be as small as a mustard seed." Attachment to existence leads to mindfulness of cause and effect, wariness of transgressions and fear of breaking the precepts, as well as to Buddha and Sutra recitation and performance of good deeds. Although these actions are bound to forms and not free and liberated, they are all conducive to merits, virtues and good roots. On the other hand, if we are attached to emptiness without having attained true emptiness, but refuse to follow forms and cultivate merits and virtues, we will certainly sink in the cycle of birth and death. This author, knowing himself to be filled with karmic obstructions and being of low capacity, has no desire to discuss lofty doctrinal questions, lest his practice not be in accord with his words, thus creating the karma of false speech. However, with a sincere mind, wishing people to eliminate doubts and believe in Buddha recitation, he has reluctantly provided some explanations. He always compares himself to a handicapped person sitting at the crossroads. Although he himself cannot walk, he strives to show others the way, reminding passers-by to avoid the dangerous path and follow the wide, even and peaceful way. He certainly would never entertain the ambition to engage in discussions designed to separate the important from the trivial, nor the true from the false.